Generally, when we ask you to write an equation to represent a situation, you have to first define your variables. So to define your variables, you need to decide which variable is independent and which variable is dependent. My independent variable will always be my x. My dependent variable will be my y. So the independent variable, there's a couple ways to think of it. We say it's the variable that you have the most control over, whereas the dependent variable is the variable that responds to or depends on the other variable. There's this little template that you can plug the two variables into, and it should sound right if you've chosen correctly. So the dependent variable depends on the independent variable. For example, here we're looking at temperature and number of ice cream cones sold. So which makes more sense? Temperature depends on how many ice cream cones you sell? No, that doesn't sound right. Actually, the number of ice cream cones you sell depends on the temperature. It depends on how hot it is. That tells me that my number of ice cream cones, number of ice cream cones sold depends on the temperature. Another way to say that is the temperature determines the ice cream cone sold. So here, temperature is my x, ice cream cone sold is my y. Let's look at this one. Does the height of the ball depend on time, or does time depend on the height of the ball? Here, the height of the ball certainly depends on time. So height is dependent, time is independent, and actually time is almost always independent. Time is almost always our x. So we can say time determines how high the ball is, the height of the ball depends on the time. Finally, our third example, does the weeks you spend babysitting depend on how much money you've earned? No. How much money you earn depends on how many weeks you babysit. So here my independent is weeks babysitting, and that determines my money earned. The other way, money earned depends on weeks babysitting. So your weeks that you babysit, that's your x, and that determines your money earned, which is your y.